Madam Executive Director, what a pleasure to see you here.
Yes, likewise, likewise.
I still remember very clearly our talk in Thailand, and now we're already in San Francisco.
Time has passed so fast, right?
There are going to be a lot of important bilateral meetings during the time of the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting. One of them is the meeting between Chinese and American presidents. Now, the world is watching. As the executive director of APEC, you invited both of them onto the platform. So what is your hope about this meeting?
You know, we all look forward to the leaders coming together when it's such a challenging time, so much noise around the work that we do. Having the leaders meet reaffirms what we've been saying all along, you know, that we are committed to build stronger bonds among our communities, our economies, seeing how we can work together to tackle all those really tough challenges, because we are all part of the global economy, you know, so none of us can go it alone, right? So having two very important economies meet when there's a lot of noise around re-globalization, deglobalization, you know, trade protectionism, you know, what is the benefits of people questioning globalization? When you have these two major economies coming together at the highest level to meet and have very important discussions, it augurs well for the rest of us. We are watching, everybody's watching, and to see how all the rhetoric around the trade tensions and all that can be dissipated because of meetings, you know, meetings of leaders. So we are very hopeful, and we're very more than elated, you know, to have the leaders come together. Not just the two bigger economies, but also the others, because, you know, we all are part of the global economy. So having that relationship among ourselves is so important, and we are so proud that APEC provides that forum for these kind of meetings to happen.
There's likely to be tremendous uncertainties politically next year, and you know this so well with great understanding of the economies that you're working with. So this could be a window opportunity, you see?
Absolutely. You know, the fact that the two important biggest economies are here to have the very important conversation, a crucial conversation at this time, really opens the door to other opportunities for the world. It adds a strong note of optimism as the year comes to a close and we start another year. You know, so it gives a lot of push to us and to all of the folks at the working level to be encouraged. This is really encouraging, right? To say, oh, all the work that we did really, you know, matter. It's coming to fruition. To bring the two parties together, we have that platform, you know, for the bilateral meetings. I always say that yes, we're bringing parties together in a room, 21 economies. That's important, but the bilateral discussions, the sideline discussions, are equally important. And they add and they build, you know, to what happens in the room at the end of the day, you know.
If you were providing advice or suggestions to these two leaders and their great teams, what do you think should be on the top of the agenda?
You know, it's so easy to look at what divides us. It's more important to look at what unites us, what brings us together, what brings benefits to us. And to not look at the narrow perspective, but look at the broader perspective, the more holistic benefits that we bring, you know, to the opportunity that we have to bring to global growth. If we think that way, I think I'm an optimist by nature. So that opportunity to really focus on what unites us, what would bring benefit to the global economy, not just to our economies individually, but really how we contribute to the greater good. I think that's should be the focus of the conversation.
There are a lot of concepts, as you know, Madam Executive Director, throwing around the zero-sum game, decoupling, de-risking, and the list goes on. So how do you see the nature of these concepts? I'm not saying they're all the same. Of course, there are differences, but how do you see these kind of concepts being thrown around? How much can we rely on the interpretation of these concepts or rely on the real interactions face-to-face to bring real ideas into any concept that might come out of it?
You know, the work that is being done in APEC, there's work to, for example, streamline some of our processes. This kind of work, the structural reform, regulatory reform, these are things that help to translate all those big ideas into what happens on the ground. And we have systems for that kind of engagement. For example, during COVID, one of the things that we were able to do, because we had our system in place, one of the things that we were able to do very quickly was to get the customs authorities together, to bring them together to ensure the flow of goods. You know, looking again at regulation, making sure that, you know, we streamline our regulations very quickly to move our essential medical products and essential goods.
It may now sound sexy, but this is really essential, yeah.
The reason we were able to do that was because we had the system in place. And we already had that sort of mindset about working on reform. So we have a customs working group, for example. So we just activated it. We said, okay, now it's not business as usual. You don't have your meetings once a month or once in 2 months or whatever. Now you have to meet immediately to sort things out. And they did, and they met online and they sorted it out. So because we already had the system, so just activate it.
A lot of energy I can feel around this year, particularly on the theme of creating sustainable and resilient future for all. What is your understanding of this specific topic?
The topic really builds on all the work that we've been doing the last few years, from the time we came up with the vision, the APEC Putrajaya Vision 2040, right through the Aotearoa Plan of Action to implement the vision, plus moving on last year where we narrowed the focus to the biocircular green economy model. And so the U.S. is just building on that. So, you know, the sustainable and resilient future for all is something that resonates with all of us, is really the core of the work that we are doing. You know, what is the work that we're doing really at the end of the day? It's to make sure that we have a really sustainable and resilient future for everybody in APEC. And by extension, the world, right? Yeah.
There's a lot of content, in fact, one could interpret out of this theme. It can be about climate change, our response to that collectively. It can be about trade and economic development. It can be about the potential of cooperation among all the economies. So which area are you particularly looking into at this moment?
So I think it is, if we're looking at it holistically, when we talk about sustainable and resilience, sustainability and resilience, rather, it's really looking at it holistically. When you talk of sustainability, it's not just about the climate, it's also about being very inclusive. You know, it's about being looking at the sustainability of businesses. So it's really a more holistic approach to it. And when you're talking of resilience, you're talking about business resilience, supply chain resilience, about us working together as a community. You know, so the different layers to the concept of sustainability and resilience. But at the end of the day, it's about how we all work together to ensure that we have this future that we set out for ourselves through the Putrajaya vision, you know? Yeah.
I know it takes a lot of work to bring everybody on board on the same topic, on the same vision. So how was it like from last year until today for you as the executive director?
There's so much happening and lots of challenges. Not just the challenge of climate change. We've seen the disasters, the natural disasters, extreme climate events around the world. We've seen geopolitical challenges. And this is when, you know, it really matters that we come together, because no one economy can deal with these challenges by themselves. You know, we've seen it through COVID. None of us could manage COVID by ourselves. We needed to come together. And we will see this more and more as we face global challenges, it is so important that we come together. And I think, for me, APEC provides the ideal platform for us to be, to work together. When you consider the membership of APEC, we have got this diverse group of economies. We've got the major players in the global economy. We've got the middle powers also in APEC. So all of us have that possibility of working together, looking not just from our own perspective, our domestic interests, but also our collective interests. And I think that's what we set out for ourselves when we came out with the Aotearoa Plan of Action. The vision, then you have the Plan of Action, right? And in that Plan of Action, we talk about individual and collective actions. So, so you have to find that balance so that we all benefit. At the end of the day, it's sustainability, resilience for all of us, right? So that keeps coming back to all of us as we plan our work. The different work streams in APEC focus on these two core themes, right? Yeah.
Because we have seen some of the other international or plurilateral platforms running into somewhat deadlocks over the past few years, but APEC is still very vibrant, and you see the participants of this year's Economic Leaders Meeting. Absolutely, everybody's here.
Yep.
So, what are some of the tools in your toolbox, working with your colleagues from APEC economies to make this possible?
You want to see economic growth, you want to see inclusive growth. We're all on the same path. We all have the same goal, the same direction. So it just makes sense that we all work towards those goals. I mean, it's easier said than done. It's really putting in effort. And I must say that the different working groups that contribute to the final leaders meeting, because the leaders meeting doesn't just happen overnight, right? No. You've got a series of work across the year, the different working groups working very hard. So all levels of government are working hard. That's one. Two, you've got the business community contributing, the APEC Business Advisory Council contributing. You've got engagements. We have these policy dialogue sessions. Through all these engagements, you get feedback from your stakeholders, right? And that helps to build on our agenda for the year, and so it culminates in the leaders meeting, but really there's a lot of work that everybody is doing at the different working levels, at the different engagement levels. It comes to that at the end of the day.
And how do you see the role of the Chinese economy and the role of China among APEC members?
China is a major trading partner for all of us in APEC, in ASEAN, So it is important that, and because we are so integrated, through all our trade agreements, we're so integrated that we have to support each other, and therefore the growth in one economy will be the rising tide for another. We've seen this happening, where because our supply chains, value chains are so integrated, whatever happens to China or to Malaysia or to Singapore would impact the whole chain, right? So it's about us building on that business relationships, ensuring that business continues to flow among ourselves.
Thank you so much, Madam Executive Director.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure talking to you.